life in the tank. One day, while Sabrina was cleaning the tank, Frankie jumped out of the holding vessel and landed in the sink. Zoe began frantically racing around the holding vessel in what appeared a state of anxiety. Sabrina hurriedly scooped up Frankie and returned him to the water, where he was immobile and barely conscious. Zoe sprang into action, nudging at him and pushing him off the bottom as if wishing him back to life. Frankie recovered, though his movement remained sluggish for several days. Zoe appeared to be more active while Frankie regained his swimming and cognitive abilities. We can do little better than speculate at what Sabrina's Tufishes might have been experiencing emotionally. Pronounced changes in the behavior of one fish following a traumatic event in another's life suggests an attunement that goes beyond mere coexistence. Here's another anecdote relating to the social lives of fishes. Maureen Dolly, senior librarian at Carnegie Mellon University, was resting by a small pond one day at Beechwood Farms Nature Reserve near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, when she happened to notice two fishes swimming together near the water's edge. She describes what happened next. One of the fish was having a hard time staying upright and every few seconds would begin to lean sideways as if on its way to turning belly up. Each time the fish began to lean, the other fish gently guided its companion upright with the side of its body or with a gentle nudge with its nose. It was the first time I had ever seen a fish practice loving kindness. This description reminds me of the goldfish we met earlier, who would swim beneath his severely deformed tankmate, Blackie, helping him to the surface for food. Here's an observation that I am sure will be familiar, for it seems a common phenomenon in aquarium fishes. It came to me from John Peters, an associate professor of economics at Marist College, New York. John kept many fishes during his teens, and his most memorable was an Oscar cichlid who lived in a tank in John's bedroom. Oscars are predatory, and the only fishes ever to join Oscar in his tank were the unfortunate goldfishes John fed to Oscar. John became quite attached to the handsome fish, to whom he said good night each night using the same words and tone of voice. Over time, John noticed that Oscar would sleep or rest on the side of the tank nearest John's bed, about 3 feet away. About a year after getting Oscar, John rearranged some things in his room. To accommodate the new layout, Oscar's tank was moved to a different wall, which put him on the other side of the bed. Within days, Oscar had changed which side of the tank he liked to chill out on. Now, whenever John said good night to his companion, the fish was situated just behind the glass nearest the bed again. Is it friendship? Maybe, maybe not. Many Oscars enjoy being gently petted by their humans. Of course, those humans also feed them, so there is the possibility that the fish is merely hoping for a food reward. Although Oscar cichlids have a life expectancy of 8 to 12 years, Oscar didn't make it to 3. The goldfishes had their revenge. Oscar fell ill one day, and soon, in John's words, he went crazy, bumping quite hard into everything in his tank, swimming upside down and knocking into things. When he stopped thrashing around, he was just about dead. John later learned that goldfishes are toxic to Oscar cichlids. Anecdotes like these are often lost to the wind. It's unfortunate because they still have value to me as a scientist. Not only can we be touched by them, but they may reveal aspects of animal behavior that science is not ready to explore. I would like to see scientists and amateurs alike share their observations with each other. In time, we may witness patterns of behavior that could steer enterprising scientists to investigate those phenomena. Social contracts. One hand washes the other. Seneca. Given creatures with personalities, memories, and the ability to recognize one another as individuals over time, the stage is set for a more sophisticated form of interaction, the long-term social contract. Streetside businesses like barbershops and restaurants that provide on-site services rely on both drop-in customers and loyal patrons to sustain their livelihoods. In a competitive world, it is only by delivering a good product that they are likely to build their client base. Customers will not return after a shoddy shave, and if the food was off, well, there are other places to eat. Occasionally, a business is exposed as a fraud. Punishments are meted out, and reputations damaged. It isn't much different on the reef. Consider the cleaner-client symbiosis of fishes. It is one of the most complex and sophisticated social systems of any animals, not just fishes. The system works as follows. One or two cleaner fishes signal that they are open for business. They work at specific locations and may use swimming phosphorescent bright colors to enhance these signals' visibility, a fish's version of the rotating red, white, blue cylinder outside a barber shop. Other fishes of various types congregate at the cleaning station, where they wait their turn to be serviced by the cleaners. These so-called client fishes will sometimes signal their readiness for cleaning by assuming a stationary head-up or head-down posture. Cleaners often approach interested clients in a bouncing or tail-wagging manner. They pick over the clients' bodies, removing parasites, dead skin, algae, and other undesirable blemishes. Clients benefit by receiving a spa treatment, including parasite removal. Cleaners get fed. The diversity of species that ply the cleaning trade attests to its great utility as a profession. Cleaning behavior in fishes has evolved several times independently, and these services have been found in a variety of habitats all over the world. Marine cleaner fishes include many wrasses, some triggerfishes, butterfly fishes, discus fishes, damselfishes, angelfishes, gobies, leatherjackets, pipefishes, sea chubs, surf perches, suckerfishes, jacks, and topsmelts. Freshwater cleaner fishes. Includesiclids, guppies, carps, sunfishes, killifishes, and sticklebacks. Some invertebrates, including several shrimps, also provide cleaning services. Client lists number well over 100 known fish species, including sharks and rays. Other clients include lobsters, sea turtles, sea snakes, octopuses, marine iguanas, whales, hippopotamuses, and humans. Although I've seen cleaner fishes waiting around for their next client, they can also experience extremely busy workdays. A study on the Great Barrier Reef found that a single cleaner wrasse serviced an average of 2,297 clients each day. Some individual clients visited a specific cleaner up to an average of 144 times per day. That amounts to one visit every 5 minutes over a 12-hour daylight period. It sounds like borderline addiction. If the only purpose of visiting cleaners was to have parasites and algae removed, then infestations with these would have to be beyond rampant to justify such a volume of cleanings. This is not to discount the role of parasites in driving cleaner-client mutualisms. Investigations by Alexandra Grutter from the University of Queensland, Australia, found that the average cleaner removes 1,218 parasites from clients per day. When Grutter thwarted access to cleaner fishes by confining one species of client fish, the black-eye thicklip, to cages for 12 hours on the reef, the poor thicklips endured a 4.5-fold increase in parasite loads. So important is the cleaning station to reef fish communities that cleaners can have a major effect on the diversity of fish species on a reef. When a research team led by Grutter removed cleaner wrasses and kept them out of small reefs for 18 months at Lizard Island off the eastern coast of Australia, fish diversity was halved and the total number of fishes on the reef reduced to 1/4 for species that move among reefs. The researchers concluded that many fish species, particularly those that migrate between reefs, choose reefs based on the presence of cleaner fishes. This sort of species decline appears to take hold slowly. 6 months off cleaner fish removal should little impact in diversity. Clients are not passive participants. When it is their turn, they approach the cleaning station and hover in place, spreading their fins to help cleaners reach all the nooks and crannies. Some open their mouths and gill covers to allow the usually much smaller cleaners to enter and exit. A cleaner will sometimes butt her snout against fins and gill covers to signal the client to spread them for inspection. Cleaners also vibrate their ventral fins so that they tap against the host's body in a signal that says, "Please keep this part of your body still for inspection." This is a dramatic scene if the client is a large predator. Although a shark or a moray eel could easily snap up the cleaner for a quick snack, it just isn't savvy to eat your service provider. But it is kosher to show consideration toward them. Groupers, for example, use a signal to ask cleaner fishes who tend to them. A large mouth gape acts as an invitation. While the cleaner is busy, the grouper keeps an eye out for any possible threats. If the cleaner happens to be in the grouper's mouth when danger is approaching, the grouper snaps its mouth closed but leaves just enough room for the cleaner to escape and dart into a safe cranny in the reef. If a cleaner is in the gills, the same thing happens, only this time it is the gill cover that is kept ajar. Gray reef sharks invite cleaners to service them by angling their bodies upward and opening their mouths wide. The cleaners show no fear as they enter the shark's deadly cavern. They seem to know that this massive predator, hundreds of times their size, means them no harm. Cleaner fishes have mastered some impressive mental feats, no doubt due to the exacting nature of their craft. The relationship between a cleaner fish and his or her client is not random. It is built on trust and cultivated over weeks or months. A social contract such as this requires that individual cleaners recognize their clients. With dozens of clients per cleaner, cleaner fishes maintain an impressive mental database of clientele. In choice experiments where a cleaner could choose to swim near one of two clients, the cleaner spent more time near a familiar one. Interestingly, clients showed no such preference in these experimental trials, perhaps because they need only remember the location where the cleaner does business to achieve repeated interactions with the same individual. In addition to remembering whom they cleaned, cleaner wrasses can also remember when they cleaned them. They are more likely to give precedence, say, to a particular triggerfish client who missed their last appointment, because that client will probably have a greater parasite buildup. It reminds me of hummingbirds' ability to visit specific flowers strategically based on when they last sipped nectar from them. In experiments in which cleaner fishes were offered foods on plates with 4 different colors and patterns, the cleaners learned to choose plates that were replenished with food sooner over plates with a slower replenish rate. Cleaner fishes can learn what client is the better one to clean. By using memory along 3 dimensions, who, when, and what, they demonstrate episodic memory, a mental skill held in high regard by biologists. If a fish can track past events, might she also be able to predict future ones? According to a study done in French Polynesia, roving cleaner wrasses adjust their behavior according to what is called the shadow of the future. In humans, this game theory term refers to our tendency to be more cooperative with a partner when there is a higher likelihood of future interactions. Roving cleaners are more cooperative with their clients near the center of their home ranges, where they are more likely to re-encounter client fishes. They do less mucus nipping and cause fewer jolts in their clients during cleaning interactions. This study provides us with one of the only examples of a non-human animal adjusting levels of cooperation with individual partners to account for future payoffs. Dubious dealings. Mucus nipping? Jolts? This is where the cleaner-client symbiosis gets more complicated, even Machiavellian. The cleaner-client symbiosis may seem neat and tidy, where everybody gains, and politeness and consideration for others reign supreme, but a system involving trust and goodwill is vulnerable to exploitation by parties with more selfish interests. As scientists have probed the cleaner-client mutualism more deeply, they have uncovered conflicting interests, and some dastardly deeds. It turns out that what cleaners most like to glean from their clients is their mucus, which surprisingly has more nutritional value than algae and parasites. Plus, it might just taste better. Needless to say, clients do not like having motes of mucus plucked from their bodies. A jolt happens when a client flinches as a cleaner nips at the protective mucus layer that surrounds a fish's body. They may jolt because it hurts, but jolts also inform their cleaners that they bit what they shouldn't have, and that the client knows it. This conflict of interest between cleaners and clients has a cascade of consequences. Cleaners show extra consideration for clients in the early stages of their relationship. This includes giving them tactile stimulation. They do this by facing away from the client and stroking them with rapid movements of their pelvic and pectoral fins. This caressing behavior seems to be done for 2 reasons: to encourage a client to stay longer at the cleaning station, and to mollify a client following a jolt. Cleaners are more likely to caress a predaceous client, probably because it lowers the risk of an aggressive chase from a potentially dangerous customer. Hungry predaceous clients receive more caresses than satiated ones, regardless of the client's parasite load. Perhaps there is a real danger of being chased and possibly caught and eaten by an irate client, though I am not aware of any diver having seen it happen. Predaceous clients are much less aggressive in areas where cleaner fishes ply their trade, so these areas of a reef are considered safe havens. It makes sense that predators would want to be on their best behavior when they are among fishes who provide a valuable service other than as food. I expect also that the tactile stimulation of clients by cleaners has a pacifying effect. Nevertheless, the great majority of client species are non-predaceous, which means they lack the predatory clients. Use of threat to convince a cleaner fish to clean more honestly and with more caresses. So what's a benign client to do? They have another strategy to keep cleaners on good behavior. It's a sort of tit-for-tat arrangement. Prospective clients watch performances of cleaners before deciding whether to let a particular cleaner inspect them. By doing this, client fishes accumulate, I'm not making this up, an image score for a given cleaner. Think of it as a fish's version of eBay seller ratings. Mucus-nipping cleaners who cause more client jolts are shunned for more honest cleaners. This quality assurance system keeps things more virtuous. Cleaners have reputations, and they pay a price for transgressing into mucus nipping. No wonder cleaners behave more cooperatively with a client when they are being watched. If a new client, who has no history with the cleaner, is cheated, he or she simply swims away. But a resident client who has built up a relationship of trust with the cleaner behaves as if having been insulted, he chases the cleaner around. Punishment has been shown to make cleaners more cooperative in future interactions. Cleaning quality also depends on client availability. On reefs where fish clients make fewer visits to cleaning stations, cleaning gobies clean more honestly, ingesting fewer scales relative to the number of ingested parasites. This shift in cleaner behavior toward greater honesty fits a basic tenet of the supply and demand economy. When competition for clients is higher, clients have a higher market value, and it pays to give them better service. The cleaner-client fish mutualism phenomenon represents one of the most complex, well-studied social systems in nature. Redouin Sherry, an authority on the symbiosis, suspects that individual cleaner races can recognize more than 100 individual clients of various species and remember their last interaction with them. Beyond that, the system encompasses long-term relationships built on trust, crime, and punishment, choosiness, audience awareness, reputation, and brown-nosing. These social dynamics support a degree of awareness and social sophistication quite out of keeping with our cultural impression of fishes. While the cleaner client symbiosis clearly has evolutionary benefits to both cleaners and clients, I maintain that pleasure plays an important role in sustaining it. Pleasure is nature's tool for promoting good behavior. Several facets of these interactions support the conclusion that it feels nice. Client fishes actively solicit cleanings, even when they have no parasites or wounds to attend to. And cleaners gratuitously caress clients with their fins to curry favor. Clients also may change color, which probably indicates a change in their emotions, signaling a sunnier mood. Feeling pleasure is itself adaptive, witness the therapeutic benefits of massage. Despite their impressive mental skills, it is doubtful that cleaner fishes reflect on the evolutionary implications of their interactions with clients, or vice versa. I don't see anyone claiming that client fishes visit cleaners because they know it makes them fitter in the Darwinian sense. They do it because they want to. Keeping up appearances. The cleaner-client symbiosis is vulnerable to another, more sinister form of cheating. Different species mimic the cleaners. They look almost identical to them, and they perform all the right moves. Then, when the client least expects it, these little imposters take a bite of fin and dash for cover. Among the most accomplished imposters are saber-toothed blennies. These little imps are no less crafty than the cleaner races they pretend to be. In one series of experiments, blennies were presented with simulations of client fishes, some of whom retaliated against blenny attacks by chasing the blenny, and some who did not. Retaliation raised the probability that blennies would select different client species to avoid future attacks. This demonstrates not only that blennies remember past outcomes, but also that the retaliation behavior functions as true punishment. Punishment also serves a public good to other members of that client species by steering blennies away. Conventional evolutionary theory predicts that behaviors should not evolve if other individuals, free riders, can benefit from them without any cost to themselves. This prediction raises the question why client fishes expend energy by punishing blennies when the damage has already been done. It turns out that blennies are somehow able to discriminate retaliators from free riders, and that free riders are at greater risk of future blenny attacks. So, if you are a client fish who has just suffered the pain of having a notch taken out of your fin by a blenny, it pays to retaliate. This is a clever analysis, but I find it rather cold and mechanistic. We risk selling animals short when we restrict ourselves to evolutionary calculus. Good heavens, might we also consider that client fishes may retaliate because they have evolved emotions, including one of the most basic, rage? In light of the evidence for emotions in fishes, I feel comfortable interpreting a client's retaliation for the brazen blenny's nip as an angry one. Cultured. Given its complex social nuances, it would not surprise me if the cleaner client mutualism involves culture. To biologists, culture is non-heritable information transferred across generations. Human genes don't direct us to wear tattoos or go to the movies, but many people adopt these customs through the example of others. Once thought the sole province of humans, culture is now known to be widespread in mammals and birds, especially in long-lived, social species. Culturally transmitted traits in animals include tool manufacture by crows, migration routes of elephants, the dialects of orcas, and the locations of communal mating sites in antelopes. Learning is central to the survival of culture. When I set up speakers and broadcasted recordings of the echolocation calls of foraging bats in fields and woodlands of British Columbia, few bats showed any interest during late spring and early summer. At that time of year only adult bats are flying, and presumably they all know where the best feeding spots are, so why bother attending to a strange new source of bat foraging calls? By August and September, after young bats were weaned and had started flying into the night to forage, it was a different story. My speakers attracted crowds of bats. It seems that young, naive bats were using the calls of older, more experienced ones to find good places to catch insects. 3 years later, as I watched millions of Mexican free-tailed bats streaming out of caves at sunset in southern Texas in late summer, I guessed that young ones were also following their older comrades to learn where the good feeding areas are. Nobody was calling it culture then, but when I reflect on the intergenerational loyalty of bats to migration routes, roosts, and feeding sites, it seems appropriate to call it culture. Do fishes also have culture? Over a 12-year study of bluehead wrasses on a set of well-studied patch reefs in the San Blas Islands off Panama, Robert Warner of the University of California, Santa Barbara, monitored 87 mating sites of bluehead wrasses. These Caribbean reef fishes remain sexually active year-round, mating on a daily basis. Warner found that long-term mating site selection by these fishes was strikingly constant. The same exact locations remained in daily use over 12 years, which is at least 4 generations, since this species' maximum lifespan is only about 3 years. Furthermore, Warner estimates that there were hundreds of other potential mating sites on these patch reefs that appeared just as attractive, yet for some reason the residents chose not to use them. Also, despite some major population fluctuations during that time, none of the 87 favored love nests fell into disuse. Warner wondered whether these mating sites were favored because they had the best combination of resources. If so, then new fishes ought to use the same sites if the residents were removed. Warner said about removing the entire local population of bluehead wrasses, then you replace them with bluehead wrasses from different reefs. Do you think that the newcomers, who soon established mating sites, settled on the sites established by the prior residents? Nope. They established new mating sites, to which they showed just as much loyalty over succeeding generations as did the earlier residents to theirs. In control experiments in which entire bluehead wrasse populations were removed and then placed back on their home reefs, they returned to their former territories. Warner concluded that mating site locations are not based on some intrinsic quality of the site, but instead represent culturally transmitted traditions. Bluehead wrasses are not the only fishes known to maintain traditional breeding sites according to social convention. Others include herrings, groupers, snappers, surgeonfishes, rabbitfishes, parrotfishes, and mullets. Cultural expression in fishes occurs in other contexts, including daily and seasonal migration routes. Small fishes have many potential predators, and looking and acting like other group members helps prevent drawing a predator's attention. This might explain the cultural conformity shown by guppies who, having learned a route to a foraging patch by following more knowledgeable fishes, continue to use that route long after the demonstrators are removed. Their chosen path even persists, at least, at first, when a new, more direct route is made available to them. This is quaintly reminiscent of humans who stubbornly cling to a traditional way of doing something even after a newer, more effective method comes along. But the guppies only held out for a short while. They soon adopted the efficient option, which goes to show that they are not blind slaves to tradition any more than we are. Predation by humans presents a sadder side to the loss of cultural knowledge. According to a 2014 study by a team of fisheries biologists and biophysicists, the plundering of fish populations by humans, and our preference for larger individuals, has disrupted the transmission of knowledge of migration routes among fishes. The researchers developed a mathematical model based on 3 factors: the strength of the social links between the fishes, the fraction of informed individuals, and the preference these informed individuals showed for certain destinations. They found that social cohesion and the presence of informed individuals were the most important factors for avoiding loss of coordination and group dissolution. These cultural disruptions might not be reversible. Culture is not coded into genes, so once lost, it is unlikely to be regained. If you restore the fish populations, might not be enough, says Giancarlo De Luca, a biophysicist with the study team. They have essentially lost their group memory. This might explain the failure of many animal populations to recover even when persecution is ended. North Atlantic right whales, western North Pacific gray whales, and many populations of blue whales have shown little signs of growth in the half-century or more since we stopped wholesale whaling. The same goes for many species of fishes when their numbers became too low to sustain a commercial catch. As nets and hooks were turned on other species, cod, orange roughy, formerly called by the less palatable-sounding slimehead, Patagonian toothfishes, and other long-lived species presumed to have cultural knowledge accumulated over generations, are not bouncing back. Ocean plundering notwithstanding, as cultured humans we are apt to find virtue in many of our societal activities. Despotic rulers and feudal lords have largely been replaced in the modern era by democracies in which elected leaders are more responsive to the wants and needs of their electorate. Today, resolving regional conflicts is more likely to involve the combined efforts of cooperating nations than in the past. In fish societies, virtue, democracy, and peacekeeping also find their place, as we'll see next. Cooperation, democracy, and peacekeeping. Nothing truly valuable can be achieved except by the unselfish cooperation of many individuals. Albert Einstein. In April 2015, I watched some dramatic fish behavior from the second-story balcony of a villa overlooking the Caribbean Sea on the west coast of Puerto Rico. It began with a sudden commotion just offshore about 50 yards along the beach. The surface erupted as dozens of silvery fishes, each about 3 inches long, leaped en masse from the water. Before they had even hit the water again, more took to the air, reminding me of the finale of a fireworks display. There must have been several hundred in the school. A squadron of larger fins broke the surface at great speed, indicating that predatory fishes were pursuing them. It was an exhilarating sight. So furious was the energy of the fleeing fishes that my girlfriend and I could hear the sounds of their surging and splashing as they worked along the shore toward us. Time and again, a few seconds of calm were followed by a volley of frenetic activity as sprays of silvery bodies arced through the air, glinting against the Evening sun. In their desperation to escape, some fishes became stranded on the beach, flipping and bouncing until the next wave rescued them. A tern swooped down and deftly plucked one from the sand. Others were marooned briefly on a seaweed-covered rock protruding from the shallows. As these ethingskul came within yards of our observation perch, we noticed the tight phalanx of the larger fishes, each about 1.5 feet long, swimming in parallel just beyond them. Their close alignment, and the effect they were having on their quarry, reminded me of the cooperative hunting performed by dolphins, who encircle a school of fishes or force them ashore, and snatch the less lucky ones as the prey make desperate leaps to safety. There was no encircling in this instance, but the team of hunters seemed to be using the shoreline to corner their prey before ambushing them. What we saw from the balcony bore little resemblance to the popular cartoon image of a small fish about to be eaten by a larger fish, which is about to be eaten by a still larger fish, ad infinitum. For me, that cliché characterizes a fish as little more than an automaton blindly responding to the hunger urge. What we witnessed was cooperative hunting by fishes. It wasn't a first. Cooperative hunting is known to occur in several fish species. For example, shoals of barracuda will swim in a tight spiral, herding prey into shallow waters for easier hunting. Similarly, the parabolic shape of a shoal of hunting tunas indicates that tunas hunt cooperatively. Lions are renowned for their cooperative hunting prowess. So are orcas. Scientists don't know how lions signal to each other that it's time to go hunting, but the lions obviously do. Is it possible that fishes signal their intention to hunt? A good place to start is the lion's marine namesake, the lionfish. They are named for their mane of long, ribbon-like, poisonous pectoral fins, but in hindsight they could as soon have been named for their cooperative hunting style. A 2014 study of 2 species of lionfish describes a distinctive flared fin display used to signal to another the desire to hunt together. The soliciting fish approaches the other with his head down and pectoral fins flared, then rapidly undulates his tail fin for a few seconds, followed by slow waving of alternate pectoral fins. The receiving fish almost always responds with fin waving, then the pair moves off to hunt. Hunting in this study involved the cooperating pair cornering a smaller fish using their long pectoral fins and then taking turns striking at the victim. The display looks the same in both species of lionfish, and cooperators are sometimes mixed species pairs. Cooperators had higher success rates than lionfishes hunting alone. They took turns, sharing the spoils with their hunting partner. It makes sense that they would share, because selfishness would soon erode the desire to cooperate. The hunting style of yellow saddle goatfishes further resembles lion-style hunting by assigning different roles to team members. These streamlined, foot-long reef dwellers, usually dressed in yellow but changeable to pinks and blues, hunt in coordinated groups that include chasers and blockers. Chasers flush the prey out of their hiding crevices, and blockers prevent their escape. By coordinating different, complementary roles, goatfishes achieve a quite sophisticated, collaborative method of hunting. Fish hunting alliances can be more elaborate still. Groupers and moray eels combine the tactics of lionfishes and goatfishes, using signals or gestures to communicate their desires or intentions, and adopting complementary roles to catch prey. The first description of this behavior came in 2006, when Redouin Sherry and 3 colleagues described roving coral groupers from the Red Sea using a rapid, full-body shimmy to recruit giant moray eels to hunt with them. The 2 teammates swim off over the reef like friends on a stroll. The researchers saw dozens of these interactions, and they were able to show that groupers and morays who worked as a team caught more prey fishes than either hunter working alone. The reason for this success is the complementary role each fish plays. The eel is able to pursue fishes into narrow spaces in the reef, whereas the grouper is more effective in the open water surrounding the corals. The poor victim finds itself out of escape options. The most impressive aspect of the grouper moray signaling is one of the least obvious. It occurs in the absence of the physical manifestation of the ultimate goal. There is no prey present when a grouper signals to a moray her intention to go hunting. The grouper is anticipating and creating a future event. This represents another example of planning. Commenting on the collaboration. The primatologist Frans de Waal wondered if there really is anything that a fish cannot do, adding, if it comes to survival, highly intelligent solutions are within the reach of animals as different from us as fish. In 2013, another research team uncovered a variation of cooperative communication and hunting by Red Sea groupers and their partners, only this time the signal resembled something we do to communicate the location of a hidden object, pointing. Roving coral groupers and their close relative leopard coral groupers use a headstand signal to indicate the location of hidden prey to cooperative hunting partners of several types, giant moray eels, humphead wrasses, and big blue octopuses. Pika and Thomas Bugnier based on studies of communication in ravens.